A Lit in 10 discussion with Lisa M. Kendrick. This is Beowulf, author unknown. Prior to the time when Beowulf was written down and named as the first tale written in the vernacular of the people, Old English, Northern Europe had a stunning 4,000-year-old history. In the past decade, enough archaeological finds have come to light that paint England as a wealthy Neolithic culture with complex and rich trade routes, unprecedented production of early metals, and a belief system that produced megalithic structures. Cairns, mounds of rough stones, and hinges, ring-shaped banks and ditches, dot the landscapes of northern Europe. In England and Ireland, there are hundreds of them. Recent findings conclude that society must have been complex to have completed such feats of engineering. Unlike earlier beliefs that nothing much predated Beowulf, we now know that Beowulf may be the last shadow of an advanced Neolithic culture. By about 2500 BCE, life changed permanently. Gone was the hunter-gatherer lifestyle and societies which worked together to survive and build civilizations. With metals and agriculture came settlement, writing, and war. Whatever had come before for thousands of years, in a few short centuries was replaced by societies where might and conquest ruled supreme. Everything that we recognize as prehistory and early history, we see in Beowulf. Beowulf is a story probably told in pagan BCE times, but when it was written down, Northern Europe was in the throes of religious takeover. We owe the earliest written records in England, aside from the early Roman stuff, to Catholic monks. But they did change things, taking 100% pagan fictionalized histories and Christianizing them. With Beowulf, we see a massive shift in religion happening in almost real time. Our epic hero is Beowulf. An epic is a lengthy narrative in poem format which traces the progression of a larger-than-life hero. Epic heroes are legendary figures who can perform deeds because of great strength and courage, and embody lofty and timeless ideals. In addition, this epic is an example of the archetypal themes of good versus evil and fate versus free will, with the conflict of a person versus the supernatural. Grendel is an archetypal monster. His character ranges, depending on the art, film, or novel, as anything from a very human king who worships the old pagan gods to a monstrous being who is the offspring of a human and, well, the old pagan gods. Grendel is painted by the monks translating this story as grotesque because he represents the old ways in which there's no true god or salvation. King Hrothgar and Herot represent everything good about the new religion, Christianity, and civilization, i.e. Romanization. Old English poetry is marked with literary devices that would have lent themselves to the oral tradition. This includes the use of alliteration, the repetition of beginning consonant sounds used to unify lines, Caesura, a break in each line used to maintain rhythms with a dramatic pause, and kenning, a metaphorical word or phrase used in the place of a common noun like Whale's home for the sea. Grendel attacks the warriors in a grand mead hall called Herot for 12 years. No one can defeat Grendel, and he leaves Hrothgar, the Danish king of Herot, alive to torment him. Many translations state that Grendel does this because Hrothgar brutally murdered Grendel's father. Beowulf, a prince of the Geats, hears Hrothgar needs a hero, so he sweeps in with 14 warriors, fights Grendel bare-handed, naked in most translations, and kills Grendel by ripping off one of his arms at the shoulder. Beowulf arrived, touting his list, as heroes do in epics, of lineage and heroic deeds, then doing what no other warrior could do. But Grendel's mother is alive, and she is seeking vengeance. Now Beowulf must battle her by diving from a cliff, swimming through a dark lake infested with monsters, and navigating a cave. He has his named sword Hrunting fail him, only to find a supernatural sword with which he cuts off Grendel's mother's head and brings it back to decorate Herot. Beowulf becomes king of Geatland when his uncle dies. After 50 years of peace, a dragon, because a thief took one of his cups, begins terrorizing the countryside. Beowulf and the only other warrior brave enough, Wiglaf, kill the dragon. Beowulf is mortally wounded, passes the torch of kingship to Wiglaf, requests the dragon's gold be buried to keep his people from becoming greedy, and asks that his pyre be on a tall cliff overlooking the sea. This demonstrates Beowulf is still a hero and will qualify for the afterlife by dying honorably. Thanks for joining the journey that was this lecture video. Check out my other video series, Lit in 10 and Top Down.